All right, Msafiri family. Here I am again after a long time. I'm here with Dr. Shigi Mavima, and we are here to react, on what is going on. The World Cup is here, Dr. Shigi.
Yes, man, and it's exciting. For the first time, we have 10 African teams. So it's an exciting time. Yeah, it's an exciting time indeed.
Yes, indeed. This, I think, when I was growing up, World Cup was a must. I may not be
Mm,
able to watch, all the other games, but when it comes to World Cup, that we definitely had to watch.
absolutely, absolutely, indeed.
Yes, sorry. Here, my phone is going off. I need to mute it. I don't know where that is coming from, but let me mute it.
Mhm.
Yes, but yesterday we had the. Is that my phone? Sorry, fans. I think one of my phones here is going off. I don't know. I think it's listening to me, or you know how phones misbehave. So sorry about that.
Right.
But yesterday we had a game, Mexico versus South Africa, and something surprising happened.
Mm.
Please, I'll just have you, Shigi, just break the news. And I know a lot of people already know.
Right. So one of the things that you saw yesterday that you don't typically see um, is a lot of African fans, particularly sub-Saharan African fans. And I say sub-Saharan African fans because these are folks whose behavior typically would be different.
Yes.
Uh, so you had a lot of fans from places like Zimbabwe, as the team here will show us in a little bit with the images, or folks from Nigeria. We had folks from the Congo who were openly rooting, some more in jest, but some very vehemently, who were rooting for Mexico against South Africa. Now, this is very interesting because, as you may well know, that there's no African country that's ever won the World Cup.
Yes.
In fact, the only teams that have won the World Cup are either Western European or South American. Last time was the first time that an African team was in the semifinals. That was Morocco.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Sub-Saharan Africa, I think we've had three quarterfinalists:
Yes.
Cameroon, Senegal, and Ghana in 2010.
Yes.
So because of that reason, and just sort of like Pan-African sentiments, people tend to root for whatever African team is playing at the time. Sure, you have some rivalries like Nigeria versus Ghana, but for the
Yes.
most part at the World Cup, a lot of those things are suspended, and we just root for. Such that in 2010, that match against Uruguay, Ghana versus Uruguay, they were doing that for, even the song "It's Time for Africa," even though it was specifically South Africa.
Yes.
So routinely, it's like this. So this idea of folks rooting against, or even being not caring, is not something that we see a lot of times. But we saw that yesterday, indeed.
Yes. It's
Mm.
and do you think it's within rights these sub-Saharan countries to just vouch for Mexico, despite of I mean, you know what
Is
I
it
mean?
is it right or wrong? Is it
Yes.
right or wrong? Is a very interesting question. Um, I think football fandom and football fan behavior
Yes.
um, speaks to the moment, is an expression of the moment unto itself.
Mm.
So when you say right or wrong, I think the things that are wrong, I think, are things that are legally wrong. You know what I'm saying? When
Yeah.
it comes to fandom, I'm saying, if it gets violent, if it gets, if it starts to break laws, then I think like that's wrong. Otherwise, if fans are expressing how they feel at the time,
Yes.
well, that's how they feel. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So it's hard for me to say it's wrong or right,
Yes.
because, like, they don't typically do this. They are
Yep.
reacting to something that's happened in this moment.
Yes.
In fact, I'll use a quote out of apartheid era South Africa
Yeah.
to situate this, which is, there's a gentleman named Dennis Brutus, who was one of the leaders of, I think he led a group called Sunrock, which was pretty much uh, a group organizing for the boycott of South African sports. And he would say, the statement that they would say is like, no normal sport in an abnormal society.
Mm.
So the reaction here is I don't want to put it in terms of wrong or right. I'll put it in
Yes.
terms of abnormal or normal. And this is not like a typical reaction because typically folks are supporting whether it's South Africa, whether it's Senegal,
Yeah.
whoever goes to the World Cup. But there's something that's happening right now, and of course, not to beat around it. It's really because of the recent flares of xenophobic violence, particularly targeting African immigrants to South Africa, and then
Yes.
almost. What is different about this is the seeming intellectualization of it, where people are being interviewed and they're
Mm.
arguing their case. In fact, for the first time, I've seen a lot of people that I know from South Africa that I met in academic spaces who seem to be sympathetic to some
Yeah.
of these homophobic things. Back in the day, it was always like if it's happening on the streets or whatever,
Yeah.
then maybe in the halls of academia, it didn't sound like that. But for the first time, I'm seeing other people that I'm saying like, wait, even you are saying like, yeah, you know.
Right.
So people reacted to that. So people reacted to that. In fact, a lot of people were excited for this game
Yes.
because if you remember, the 2010 World Cup started with a Mexico versus South Africa game as well.
Mm.
You know, that
Yeah.
famous Shabalala goal. So that when it was now in Mexico, that was also the opening match. There was a lot of excitement when the schedule was first published. Then, as this was happening in the past month or so,
Yes.
the tone started to change a little bit among Africans, indeed.
Yes. The last time we had this conversation about xenophobia behavior that has been taking place in South Africa, during that time, did you even ever imagine this actually Africans taking it to this extent and protesting in this way at the World Cup level?
You know, it didn't occur to me. It didn't occur to me.
Mm.
Interestingly, the reason why such a reaction is on my radar was
Yes.
something that I would consider.
Mm.
It's actually because of South Africa itself, and I'll tell you why in a
Please. Mm.
moment here. But no, I didn't necessarily think that. I thought maybe it would boil over because I think even if this happens, if this World Cup happens, say that moment subsides and this World Cup was happening in like 6 months' time, I think we would hear a very different tone because
Yes.
again, the rest of the continent loves things of South Africa, right? The rest of the continent, first of all, from whether it was the frontline states, that investment in making sure that South Africa apartheid ended, to the fact that Amapiano may be global now, but it
Yes.
really started to resonate across Africa,
Mm.
and other even in immigrant communities within South Africa before it really popped off, right? A lot of
Yes.
these players, Ronwen Williams, their goalkeeper, is a darling of AFCON, and things like this. So many things. Casper, the AKAs, all these people are darlings.
Yep.
So, any other time, So,
Yes.
but the reason why I didn't think this was totally unexpected entirely is because South Africa itself has set the precedent for this.
Mm.
What I mean by that is when South Africa, when their rugby team, the
Yes.
Springboks, right? If you've watched the movie Invictus, or if you just know that history,
I
you
have
know that
I've watched that movie. I think in my freshman year at college.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this storyline, and this is actually based. They were able to work this in, and it's a little subtle. If you remember at the beginning of the movie, the black South Africans, because this
Mm-hmm.
is soon ended of apartheid, were actually not rooting for the Springboks, their
Yes.
national team. They
Yeah.
were rooting for the opposition. In fact, for many South Africans of a certain generation, their preferred team was New Zealand, which was South Africa's biggest rivals, because to them, South
Mm.
Africa Springboks represented the apartheid state.
Yep.
So there was people would show up to these games to root for the opposition when it
Yes.
represented the thing. So that idea of rooting for a team that almost seems counterintuitive to you
Yeah.
is actually not new, and the group that's done it before
it's
is South Africa.
it's in South Africa themselves. Yeah. Yeah.
So it seems like the perpetuation of the same thing. That, like, honestly, all things being equal, we would want to be supporting you, but if you're treating us like this, then
Yes.
our
Yeah.
sympathies are over there. So
Let's
indeed.
let me share my screen here so you can we can go through some of the things that we see here online, and maybe you can react to this.
Sure.
So let me just share my screen here real quick. Okay. Let me know once you're able to see my screen, and you can
Yeah,
comment
for
on
sure.
this.
Indeed. So this is a travel blogger, right? Wodemaya. I know I think he's East African. Does some very good work. But he's just kind of commenting on the fact that yeah, a lot of people seem to be supporting Mexico, right? Either through their post, with some people even
Yes.
dressing up in Mexican jerseys and so forth. So
Yes.
yeah, so that
Hold
was
on. Let me bring the here. Let me see if I don't know if our viewers can see. Let me. I think now it's visible. Okay. Now go ahead.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's what I was talking about here. So you can tell here they've put that they've draped the rest of the flag in the of the continent in the Mexican flag here, as if to separate it. And again, if you watch the last interview I did with Issika here, I was talking about how every now and then, when I was in South Africa, I would hear people talk about, oh yeah, these people from Africa, and talking about the rest of the continent, right? So
Right.
maybe
Yep.
this is a visual depiction of that as well. Indeed.
And then we
Indeed.
have this one here.
Yeah, this one is Zimbabwean specific, of course. Zimbabwe being one of the nations, I would argue, probably just by proximity,
Yep.
then by similar. So, for example, Mozambique is also very close, but Mozambique is Portuguese speaking. Zimbabwe and South Africa have a similar colonial history, and
Yes.
it's also right there. So I would argue that the lion's share of the African immigrants to South Africa,
Mm.
from Zimbabwe.
Yes.
So it means when there's this backlash, a lot of times Zimbabwe also bears the brunt of it. Indeed. So in this moment, Zimbabweans
Wow.
are saying, like, if you guys are gonna treat us like that, then we are North American. We are in the proximity of Mexico.
Yes.
This guy is a commentator I really I really enjoy.
Mm.
But it was just kind of, you saying, yeah, I'm surprised that here you're saying it was almost expected that things were going to go in this way. Why are South Africans so surprised by this? But I also want to be fair.
Yes.
I also want to be fair that we're not painting South Africa as a monolith, or South Africans as a monolith. A lot are very sympathetic to the migrant cause. A lot, South
Mm.
Africa would burn if all the Black South Africans were xenophobic in this way, right? Even if,
Yes.
so there's a lot who are also who are also anti. So I want to make sure. So those are some of the folks who may legit be surprised, because maybe in their echo chambers they have the migrants in their circles and so forth, and it's not a problem, and
Right.
they're hearing all these things and they are surprised. But indeed. So that's another one that I thought was interesting. Uh Similar vibe here.
Yep.
Actually, this one was interesting here because the person who posted this is an American friend of mine who studies Senegal.
Yes.
So just and also as a white American woman, for her to be so tuned in to some of these discourses that are happening on the continent
Mm.
in a way that it gets a reaction out of her too, I thought was pretty interesting indeed. But
No, no, I agree. I totally agree.
Mhm.
And then the last one here, I think, yep.
Yeah, this was just some folks who were actually in the space, draped in Mexican outfit, and you can see the hashtag here. They say no to Dudula, Dudula being the leading movement that's been sort of chasing
Yes.
after immigrants. So again, the politics here is a little more palpable. They are leaving nothing to interpretation here as to why they are rocking those colors. Indeed.
Yes, and I think I did this morning. I did see these guys. They've been interviewed on a small clip, where
Right.
they were saying yes. They were like, "Why are you guys rooting for Mexico?" It's like, "No, we're rooting for Mexico all the way."
Mm,
So
mm, mm,
it's really interesting. It's
mm.
Shiggy. You know this is only happening to South Africa. It's not every country, because I see there you are wearing is that Senegalese jersey?
Yeah, this is my new Senegal shirt just got here today. I'm excited. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, no, I think first of all, to be fair with on South, I don't know if fair to say like it's only happening with South Africa is almost a self-fulfilling prophecy,
Yes.
in a way that to say South Africa is also the place where the migrants flock to. unlike any other. So like if this was happening in the Americas, it would happen in the US.
Yes.
It's one of those things where when people say, well, most people who are attacked by sharks are attacked within 6 feet of water.
Mm.
Well, it works out that way because that's where the people are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the people are not in 20 feet of water. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. By that I mean like, yeah, it's happening with South Africa, but also South Africa is the one country that where people, not the only one, but a lot of people go to South Africa. So
Yes.
these things are likely to happen in South Africa
In
because that's
South
where
Africa, yeah.
mixing. Yeah, but yeah, to your point, man, the Pan African sentiment. In fact, I even have my South African hat here with
There you
me,
go. Yeah.
just to show that like this is not some permanent smoke. I have
Mm.
eternal love for South Africa. I have eternal love for Mzansi. It's a country that is so paramount to the Pan African project, and me as a Zimbabwean, I can't thank South Africa enough for whether it's the hosting of my family and countrymen over the past couple of decades that's kept them alive, whether
Yes.
it is the shared history with the British South African company,
Mm.
whether it's like that some of their foundational leaders like Albert Lutuli had originally come from Zimbabwe, to the fact that the Ndebele people of the, that fled Shaka ended up,
Yes.
these are intertwined histories, right? These
Yep.
are, and when we find the love is beautiful. It's just that we're dealing with this particular diplomatic geopolitical crisis right now that has also put a lot of people's lives and livelihoods in danger.
Mm.
And it's hard to overlook that. It's
Yes.
hard
No.
to over a 90-minute game, indeed.
No, I agree. I agree. This doesn't mean that people hate South Africa, because even even though I am happy to see people actually still, wanting, pushing South Africa to maybe to be a little bit more gentle with their fellow Africans. I still
Mhm.
consume a lot of, South African music, especially the music of the 90s
Mhm.
and 80s, the Lucky Dubes, the Brenda Fassie.
And the
I believe
person,
Yvonne Chaka Chaka is from South Africa.
yeah, Yvonne Chaka Chaka is definitely from South Africa. Indeed,
Yes,
yes, yes, yes.
all these people. I consume their music because of it. Um, I just have this love I have for South Africa,
Mhm.
and it's also painful when I see something like xenophobic, you know, kind of tainting the image of the South Africa that I know. And as you mentioned, it's only fair, what you mentioned, that, there is a lot of people, moving and flooding into South Africa.
Mm.
I'm just wondering if this was also happening to other countries, if other countries will stand out or will do things different. But that is yet to maybe to be seen. I know too, like in Kenya, we get a lot of immigrants from other places as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but the truth is as these things happen, um,
Mm.
is sometimes it can be hard for nations to strike a balance. Yesterday, I told you I was in a wedding, and I met a guy who is from Rwanda or Burundi somewhere, and he
Okay.
told me he lived in Kenya for some time,
Mm.
and he tried to get like a national ID, and he couldn't get it.
Mm.
And he had to move to Tanzania, to Zambia, to Zimbabwe, to Mozambique, all these countries. Although he ended up in South Africa. And in
Mm.
South Africa, then he ended up coming to the United States. And so you see these people who are moving. And so these nations are kind of faced by the dilemma of, these are our people. Do we give
Uh-huh.
them these national IDs? And where is the balance, So I can see the
Absolutely.
dilemma there, but it's something to be figured out.
Absolutely, and indeed. So, we can talk about the nation making of South Africa, and go back to some of the separations that happened due to apartheid in the Bantustans, and the sort of how South Africa is the most unequal country when it comes to incomes, as a
Yes.
reason for as part of the things that feed into some of these things. But none of these things are pathologically only South African, right? Because,
Mm,
like I said, it's also become from an excess of a relative excess of wealth that a lot of people go over there. But I mean, when you look at the story of why they say Ghana must go with
mm,
those bars in West Africa. When you look at Zimbabwe, the fact that people from Malawi to this day are referred to by pejorative terms like Mabwidi or Mabrandaya, which has maybe similar connotations to Makwere Kwere in South Africa.
Yes.
Right? Or when you look at even the conversations that happen in Western Europe, that are happening in the US around immigration, none of this is pathologically. It just happens that a lot of times when a country is, people flock to a more economically better off space. And those are the sites in which these conversations happen.
That's true.
Why am I saying this to say, well, I'm not saying this to take anybody off the hook or whatever. It's just to say, when we are confronting it right now, we fight the fight we are fighting right now. You know, the fact
Yes.
that other people could possibly do it, or if the shoe was on the other foot, it would be the same or it would be different. Well, we'll fight that battle when we get to it. But right now,
I
this is
agree.
the fight we are fighting right now. You know what I mean? So this
Yes.
is not to pathologize South Africa as this, you know, these guys are so anti everybody, but it's the problem that we're facing right now. So we're
Yeah.
fighting that.
No, I agree. So now that you have a Senegalese jersey on, are you rooting for Senegalese all the way?
You know, yes. So on my channel, on the Pan-African Conversations, I just had a conversation with a brother named Footy Salvation, who's a soccer blogger from Nigeria.
Yes.
And we were just talking about how we feel like the African teams are going to be doing. And Senegal was my favorite of the bunch.
Yeah.
His was Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, which I also really like.
Mm.
But yeah, I can say I'm riding with Senegal. I'm riding with all the African teams, really. You know, we can say that.
Yeah.
I'm riding with all the African teams. You know, I'm excited to also see what countries like Cape Verde,
Yeah.
you know, African country, of course. But I'm also interested in seeing what Haiti and
Yes.
Curacao, which are the islands,
Yes.
you know, within the larger Pan-African community. I'm interested in seeing that. You know, it's Curaçao's first time. It's Haiti has been there before, but you know, it's been like more than 50 years.
Yes.
The Congo.
Yep.
I'm excited for the Congo, man. The Congo are back for the first time since 1978.
Long time. Yeah.
You know, and they have a good team.
They do.
They have a good team. So I'm excited for those.
And Cape Verde, I believe this is their first time.
Cape Verde, this is their first time. Cape Verde, man, I think they might have like 500,000 people there.
Yeah.
So I think when they qualified, they were the smallest country to ever qualify to the World Cup.
Oh, amazing.
Then Curacao qualified a little bit later. So Curacao broke their record, but they broke it within the same qualification circle.
Gotcha.
So Cape Verde, man, and don't sleep on Cape Verde, because Cape Verde, unlike, say, Curacao,
yes.
And I'm not saying that to say like they're better than Curacao. I don't actually know how Curacao plays. But Cape Verde, even though this is their first time, they've actually done very well for a country of their size in the African Cup of Nations in the past 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
They've had a couple of semi-final finishes, a quarter-final finish, and now they're through to the World Cup. So they've been building a nice little project. You know what I mean? So
that's awesome. Yes.
They might do something cool, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
That's good.
Indeed.
So for me, the same. I have not picked any team yet. But what I normally do is I root for all African teams. And then previously, as some of them get knocked out, you know, my list kind of narrows down. So I'm following the same system. I'm rooting for all African teams. And now that you have mentioned, you know, the Caribbeans, now that Howard started into my list as well. I'm hoping that with the, you know, assistant video refereees, that you know the game will be more fair. That's what I'm hoping, that some of the things that have been disadvantageous to African, maybe, I don't know, out of bias and or whatever, that some of those things will, even if they will still be there, that will be a minimal, and that will give African teams a more opportunity to you know, to advance.
Absolutely. Then there's also this one other thing. This will be the last thing that I mention on
yes.
or at least from my side, which is to say, one of the other things that I'm excited for as well with African teams is, for a while now, African teams or African talent has edified Western teams, right? And that's not going to stop anytime soon. If you look at France, for example,
yes,
it's bursting from the seams with like Congolese players and Guinean players and Ivorian and Senegalese, you know, the Mbappes and the Olysses and you know, France especially. But you know, you look at teams like Belgium with the likes of Lukaku and Fofana. You look at at Spain with Lamine Yamal. You know what I mean? You look at this
Yes.
country for a long time, but for a long time it's been mainly one way.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued now, the likes of Zidane and Eusebio. Now we're
Yeah.
starting to see as well kids who came up in those countries now coming back. So you look at a team like Morocco, a
Yes.
lot of those folks are actually born in Spain or
In
France,
Spain.
and they're going back now. Zidane, who's one of the greatest players of all time, definitely a top five greatest French player of all time.
Yes.
His son is the Algerian goalkeeper. You know what I'm saying?
Nice. Yes. Good.
Desiree Doué, who's one of the brightest stars, plays for PSG in France.
Yeah.
His brother plays for Ivory Coast, and they actually his brother actually scored against France in like a week ago, and they played in that game. So just to see
Nice. Yeah.
that core group of people who are now Cape Verde, the whole team is built up around people like that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
People who are children of migrants and so forth. So it's beautiful to see that, indeed.
It's beautiful to see that. So I just want to thank you again for just jumping in. We just
For sure.
wanted this to make this short because there's already a game. Canada is playing Bosnia and Herzegovina right now. And it looks like here Canada is losing 0-1. So we will end this, and so we can get an opportunity to watch that game. And as these games progress, I'm hoping that we'll be able, maybe if something else develops, we jump in and get a comment from you, Dr. Shigi. It's
Indeed.
always been a pleasure.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. We